The word boundary has been so overused in professional development that it's almost lost its meaning. People say it as though the act of naming one is the same as having one. It isn't. A boundary without the ability to hold it under pressure is just a preference, and preferences in professional environments are routinely ignored. In this video, I'm not going to tell you to know your worth or to communicate your limits clearly. That advice is correct in principle and useless in practice, let's be real. Because the problem isn't that people don't know what their limits are. The problem is that when those limits are tested by a demanding manager, a difficult colleague, a culture that rewards availability, they don't know how to hold the line without feeling like they're damaging something. This is a video about how to set boundaries that actually hold. Not through assertiveness training, through understanding, even though assertiveness is important. We talk about that in other videos. First, why most professionals can't hold their own boundaries. The real dynamic. Let's get into it. The inability to hold a boundary is almost always a people-pleasing problem at its root. And people-pleasing is almost always a survival strategy, one that was learned when being accommodating kept you safe or kept you valued. At a senior level, that strategy inverts. The person who says yes to everything is not valued more. They're valued differently, as a resource, not as a leader. The second reason boundaries collapse is that they're set reactively, not proactively. You wait until you already are overwhelmed, you're already resentful, already in a position where the boundary feels like a withdrawal rather than a standard. A boundary set from desperation feels aggressive. A boundary established early, calmly, and consistently feels like a professional integrity. The difference isn't the boundary, it's the timing and the state you're in when you set it. People confuse a boundary with a refusal. A boundary is not a no. A boundary is here's how I operate. That reframe changes everything about how it lands. Next, the boundaries that matter most at senior levels and how they get violated. Time boundaries, your calendar being treated as communal. Last minute meetings, constant interruption, the expectation of instant availability. Every violation you absorb sets a precedent. Next, energy boundaries, being pulled into problems that aren't yours, being the default emotional container for a team or a manager, carrying other people's anxiety as a professional responsibility. That's not your responsibility. Next, credit boundaries, your ideas, your work, your contributions being folded into someone else's narrative. This happens gradually and often without explicit intent. Scope boundaries, the slow expansion of what's expected of you without a corresponding expansion of your resources, authority, or compensation. Most violations don't happen through direct confrontation. They happen through slow accumulation. Be aware of that. This is why the professional who never has a problem with anyone is often the one carrying the most. If you're in a situation where you know a boundary needs to be established, but you're not sure how to approach it, that's exactly the kind of thing I work through in my free 15-minute communication audit. Links in the description. Come with the situation and we'll build through the approach together. Next, let's talk about how to set a boundary that holds, the juicy bit, the method, okay? Step 1, establish the standard before it's violated. I keep my evenings clear for focused work. Anything urgent, flag it before 6 p.m. Said once early in a normal tone without justification. That's what lands. You're not asking for permission, you are informing. Step 2, when a boundary is tested, and it will be, respond to the first violation directly and without drama. That falls outside what we discussed. Let's find another solution. Not apologetically, not angrily, simply. Step 3, don't over-explain. Every justification you offer is an invitation for negotiation. You don't owe anyone an explanation for a professional standard. Just state it and hold. Let it land. Step 4, be consistent. A boundary you enforce selectively isn't a boundary, it's a mood. Inconsistency is what teaches people that your limits aren't real. Step 5, understand that initial discomfort is not damage. When you begin to hold boundaries with someone who's used to you not having any, there will be friction. That friction is not a sign you've done something wrong. It's a sign that your boundary is working. Remember that. The identity underneath the boundary, why this is an inside out situation. You cannot hold a boundary you don't believe you deserve. This is the layer most boundary setting advice skips entirely. If somewhere underneath the professional presentation you believe your value is contingent on your availability, on how much you do, how quickly you respond, how accommodating you are, then every boundary you set, or you try to set, will feel like a risk, because psychologically it is. The work is to build a sense of professional identity that is grounded in what you are, not what you deliver. Your judgment, your perspective, your presence. These are not contingent on your output. When that shift happens, and it is a shift, not an insight, boundaries stop feeling like something you have to enforce. They become simply how you operate. My friend, remember, a boundary is not a wall. It is not aggression. It is not selfishness. It is a professional expression of self-respect. The signal you send to every room you're in that you are a person of standards, not a person of unlimited availability. The people who hold this well don't hold it because they're fearless. They hold it because they've done the work of understanding that accommodating everyone else's expectations at the expense of their own is not virtue. It is an erosion of their time, of their clarity, of their authority, and of their self-respect. Set the standard, hold the line, and let the relationships that matter prove themselves by meeting you there. Subscribe for more of this work, and the free 15-minute communication audit is available in the link below. I'll see you there.